David Spond is at the Justice Department with the latest installation of the Twitter files. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening to you. This is the 7th drop of information regarding the Twitter files. As you mentioned, it paints a narrative of a cozy relationship between the FBI and Twitter. Specifically, though, this mentions information about that Hunter Biden scandal going back several years. Independent journalist Michael Shellenberger was tapped by Elon Musk to disseminate this to the public, to millions of people across the globe. The following is from Shellenberger, released just a few hours ago. He titled the release, "The FBI and the Hunter Biden Laptop and How the FBI and Intelligence Community Discredited Factual Information." Then he goes on. Shellenberger tweets about the Delaware computer shop owner who contacted the FBI in late 2019 about Hunter Biden's laptop. The FBI took the laptop, took possession of it in December 2019. Shellenberger then reports by August 2020, the shop owner had not heard back from the FBI, so he gave a copy of the laptop to Trump confidant Rudy Giuliani, who then in turn gave that information to the New York Post. Shellenberger reports the FBI asked Twitter to provide information without search warrants. On October 13th, 2020, an FBI special agent in the San Francisco office sent 10 documents to Twitter's head of site integrity, Yoel Roth, a name we've heard, through something called Teleporter. It was a one-way channel from the FBI to Twitter. At one point, Brett, Roth apparently was part of a virtual war room with Twitter and other FBI employees. Now, Brett, while we don't know what was in those documents sent, we do know the next day the New York Post ran this cover, the now infamous cover, Biden's secret emails exposing information about Hunter's business dealings overseas. Shellenberger paints a greater narrative of the FBI having that close relationship with Twitter. He tweets, as of 2020, there were so many former FBI employees, BU alumni, meaning Bureau alumni, working at Twitter, that they had created their own private Slack channel and a crib sheet to onboard new FBI arrivals. One of those former Bureau employees, former FBI top lawyer Jim Baker, we've talked about him on this network, who, according to Shellenberger, personally questioned the New York Post reporting, arguing it's possible some of the formatting looks fabricated. And after Joe Biden won the election in November 2020, Baker and other Twitter employees sent FBI emails thanking them for their work. He points to this tweet highlighting that the FBI was paying, and I mean Shellenberger, highlighting the FBI was paying Twitter millions of dollars for its staff time. Shellenberger says it's from an associate of Mr. Baker.
Wow. Have y'all seen Jim Jordan? He talked about not the $3 million, Jim Jordan goes, they didn't get paid not one, not two, but $3 million. And there's the actual number there. $3,415,323. I'm not sure why they just didn't round it up. I mean, you're already in the millions of dollars, just round it up, right? I mean, really. So they knew what they were doing. The FBI knew what they were doing when they were in communication with Twitter. This is wild. How many of y'all are surprised by this? I'm not surprised by it. We've all been hearing about how the FBI were working with Twitter to undermine the American people, but they had direct connection. They use an application called Slack where they can have direct connection, straight portal. They didn't do subpoenas. They didn't do any of that. They didn't do no court orders, nothing. They had direct access to Twitter, and they had Twitter blocking information that they deemed was dangerous or Russian propaganda when it wasn't Russian propaganda. This was 100% the federal government violating our constitutional rights. Listen to this one I hope I got my system working here. So far, so good. But listen to this one where Jim Jordan is on with Judge Jeanine, and they're talking about these documents and how the federal government and all this corruption has happened right before our eyes. And you know what? They want us to act like it's not there. It's like there's nothing there. How come the left is not in the uproar? You know what? Let me put it this way. If this happened with those on the left, they would be rioting in the streets right now. You know that?
What really jumps out at me, though, Judge, is this timeline and the lack of transparency from the White House. And you talked about this. So on November 2nd, they find classified material at the Biden Center. They don't tell anyone. On December 18th, they find classified material at the Biden garage, at their residence, and they don't tell anyone. And then on January 9th, there's a news report talking about classified material, but only at the Biden Center. The White House comes out and confirms that, but they still don't tell us about the garage, what they found on December 18th. Why didn't they just come clean right from the get-go and tell us, oh, and now we've found there's an additional 5 documents in the room adjacent to the garage at the Wilmington, at the residence. So I want to know why they kept this from us. And maybe the most important question that we've asked now for over a week is, why did they keep it from the American people when they knew about it before the election?
All right. They knew about it before the midterms, Congressman Jordan. You know they hid the Hunter Biden laptop story because it was a presidential election coming up. No surprise. They'd hide it so that it wasn't in play during the midterms. But why did they wait so long? What were they doing, Congressman, from November 2nd until January 10th? What were they doing? Who was reviewing the documents? Were there personal lawyers who don't have a security clearance? And, you know, I'm not satisfied that they don't have records of visitor logs at the home. The Secret Service should know who was there. And if they don't keep logs, what about the security cameras? What about fingerprints on the documents? What are we going to find out, Congressman?
No, all those questions need to be answered. What did Mr. Lausch do?
Let me stop it real quick. I apologize. You know, she brings up a very good point. Are there fingerprints on the documents? Are they going to even search for the document? You know, are they going to even search for that? Are they going to test for fingerprints on the documents? Personally, they probably don't want to know who actually touched the documents. They probably don't want to know who seen the documents. They just want all this to go away. Because if they didn't, if they really wanted to get all the information out and they truly wanted to be transparent, they would have said something back last year in November when they found the documents then. This is really bizarre. How many of y'all think that this is just, you know, them doing something to get us to be distracted? Because there's some people out there saying all this is a distraction. My question is, if you think this is a distraction from something else, what is that distraction? I want to know what you think that distraction is, right? I want to know. Leave me a comment what you think the distraction is, because this is pretty damaging, right? And I kind of, you know, I'm not disagreeing with you that this is a distraction. I just want to know what you think the distraction is. Because this is not the Republicans releasing all this information like I've been saying. This is the Democrats releasing this information about Joe Biden. And I made it clear the reason why they want to do this, because they've already said it before that they want to primary Joe Biden. And if they want to primary Joe Biden, why not just go ahead and get rid of him? He's damaged goods. He's damaged goods, and they know it. And they can't have him there going into 2024. My goodness. Could Kamala Harris be behind it? I'm just asking the question.
The documents. What are we going to find out, Congressman?
No, all those questions need to be answered. What did Mr. Lausch do? We understand Mr. Lausch, the U.S. attorney from Illinois, was assigned to the case in early November, and then he concluded his investigation on January 5th. Well, what did he find?
Right.
Because we know after January 5th, they found another batch of these classified documents. So what kind of investigation was that for the first 2 months? What is the White House lawyer doing accompanying DOJ officials when they go to the Biden residence to pick up these documents? It looks to me like he just made himself a fact witness and is part of this investigation now. Why was he there? This was supposedly Biden's personal attorneys and the Department of Justice. What's the White House counsel's office doing accompanying the DOJ to his residence? That certainly didn't apply to President Trump.
It certainly didn't.
Maybe the best one is Secretary Clinton. I remember asking her specifically when she testified in front of the Benghazi committee, Secretary Clinton, you've got 60-some thousand emails. We don't want to see your personal emails. There's a thing called privacy in America. We have no right to see those. But we don't exactly trust you and your lawyers to determine which ones we should see and which ones we don't need to. How about this idea? Why don't we have a retired federal judge, a neutral third party, come and examine those 60-some thousand emails?
Because they don't want that. And Jim Jordan just laid it out. Hillary Rodham Clinton, all of the corruption, they get to decide what documents they get to see. And again, they bring up the fact that Biden's lawyers went to the office at Penn State, at Penn Biden, center to clean out the closet, to clean out the office. Why would lawyers, and you know these are not cheap lawyers, I think personally, because I don't believe anything that they say, I believe personally it's a whole bunch of lies, and they're just telling the public that it was lawyers that found it, because, you know, lawyers, they're going to keep stuff confidential. That's the only reason why they're putting that story out there. Because the lawyers, we're going to keep it in our minds. Oh, well, lawyers looked at it, so it's fine. It's okay. That's the message that they're trying to portray. But everybody knows that after those documents been sitting in that closet for 6+ years, 6+ years, and we're supposed to believe that, oh, there's nothing out of the ordinary here. No one ever looked at those documents after 6+ years. And then all of a sudden, when he's going to announce that he's running for 2024, then they bring all this out. I don't believe it. Let me show this one, because this is the last one I want to show you before my system started acting up here. Well, I think it was acting up from the beginning, but listen to this, because this is really important. You have Ilhan Omar here saying that she's happy that they're basically going after Biden. And then you have Adam Pencilneck Schiff, where he's trying to act like, well, we need to look at all the evidence. And you have another socialist Democrat on here basically saying the same thing, but they didn't say that before. Listen to this.
I'm glad that there is a special prosecutor that's been appointed to investigate.
You are glad that there is a special
yes.
prosecutor.
Classified documents are to be taken seriously. No one is above the law. So I'm glad to see the Justice Department doing its work.
Well,
wait a minute, wasn't Biden just at Warlock's church? And now Warlock is throwing him under the bus? He was just at his church for Martin Luther King Day. He was just at his church, and now he's throwing him under the bus. I mean, wow, really? Really? No one is above the law. Really, he's throwing him on the bus.
Its work.
Well, it's certainly embarrassing, right?
Now, and this is the one I was telling you earlier, how CNN, they're even laughing at Joe Biden, because talking about how trashy his garage is and with those docks there.
There's Biden and his sweet 1967 Stingray. But look on the back left there. I don't know if we can push in there, but that looks like a mess. That's worse than my garage. That's worse than my garage. I mean, that's not where, I don't know exactly where the documents are in that garage, but that does not look like what a secure location would be.
Really? You think? And see, all of them got duped. They were all protecting Joe Biden when the first set of documents came out, and now all of them look stupid because they were doing that, not knowing that more docs were going to pop up.
Bye.
Now this dude here, he really takes the cake.
Biden's own standard. Wasn't Biden totally irresponsible with classified information?
Hoping that we will keep a sense of symmetry about our analysis of these situations and a sense of proportion about the underlying offenses. There's some people who are trying to compare.
Listen to this. Listen to this. Now, let me remind you, President Trump never, not a single time did President Trump ever call for violence. He never did. President Trump never called for violence. But they don't care. They know that he didn't. They keep regurgitating the same lie.
A government document that should no longer be in your possession to inciting a violent insurrection.
When did President Trump incite any kind of violence? When? It's just his mouth is doing this. He's literally lying. President Trump never did that. Now listen to Adam Schiff here. Adam Schiff is going to act like, well, we need to look at all the evidence before we jump out there.
The White House knew about this on November 2nd. Should this information have been revealed earlier?
I think the administration will need to answer that question. I'm going to reserve judgment until they do. But I think it's important to point out that the Biden approach was very different in the sense that it looks, as far as we can tell, that it was inadvertent that these documents were in these locations.
You hear this? Oh, inadvertently they were there. You know, it's just by mistake. Just by mistake that they were there.
We wonder if the Secret Service had records now. That's our next question, because he still had Secret Service protection. And you would assume that the Secret Service would vet people that would be allowed on the premise of the dwelling for the President of the United States.
Right? You would think every single time that I went to an event, and I went to the White House twice, and I was able to go into the White House, and the Secret Service vetted me both times. Even after I've been there the first time, they vetted me the second time. When I went to other places where I was going to be there with President Trump, the Secret Service, again, they vetted me. Since President Trump has been out of office, you have to go through it again. I mean, it's really bizarre, right? And just like Joe Biden, he wasn't in office, but the Secret Service was there. The people had to be vetted at some point. But I don't think that happened. I don't think it happened. Listen to this one with the Communist News Network. And of course, it's like maybe the Dems are really embarrassed because they were supporting Joe Biden when the first documents came out. Like I constantly say, they were supporting him, the Biden crime family. And now they look stupid because more documents kept coming out, and they get like, well, how do we keep defending this? It's making us look stupid.
The White House sources were getting ready to work on this 2024 campaign. You know, this is a group and a president that tout their experience and their competency. And so the thing that I was hearing is not just, you know,
and their transparency.
Right. And so, you know, they are institutionalists. They play by the rules. And I think beyond whatever comes, beyond having to deal with the special counsel, which are two words no White House ever wants to hear, you know, they might be confident that in the end, this won't really go anywhere. It'll be fine, but it's going to hang over them for a while. And I think the damaging thing that people are worried about is to that perception. This takes some paint off of the Biden presidency, and it's because they're supposed to be the ones who know what they're doing. They're supposed to be the grown-ups, the competent ones. And this does not look like, you know,
Yeah, it is. They're supposed to be the competent ones. At what point did he think Joe Biden was competent? I mean, that would be the question. I'm like, well, based on that statement, at what point did you think Joe Biden was competent? I mean, I really would like to know that question, because Joe Biden has said some really stupid things. I mean, really, there's probably a whole book of it, right? Stupid things that he said. So at what point do you think that he was that way? Maybe years ago when he, you know, before he became into political office, maybe then. I don't even know if he was then, because he don't even remember half the stuff that happened to him when he was a child. He made up stuff as he goes along, and he's still making up stuff. Dude, mind is completely gone. The Biden regime, along with the Democrats, none of them are incompetent. None of them have any kind of rational thinking. None of them do.
Example of great competence here in terms of the management of this, not knowing they were there. The White House kind of started to maybe blame this on aides and people who were responsible for moving the papers, making clear, implying that, look, the president didn't know about this. He wasn't the one involved in.
And again, as I mentioned before, they said that Joe Biden had a doc, right? He had these docs. I'm trying to find one here. Here we go. I don't even know what's in this doc. But Joe Biden had these docs, and they said he even labeled one of them personal, and come to find out what was in it was something top secret, classified, that no one else is supposed to see, and he actually labeled them personal, and he shouldn't even have them in his possession. But yet Biden labeled them himself, right? I said that earlier. Biden labeled the top secret documents himself as personal. So if he's labeling these documents himself, how is it that we can say that he doesn't know what was in them? How can we say that he doesn't know when they showed up? When he labeled them himself, they said it was in his handwriting. In his handwriting. Now listen to this gentleman, because a lot of people just like me are saying that they're showing all of this information, they're talking about all of this, but nothing's going to become of it. We're all going to talk about it. It's going to just be public opinion, because the law enforcement in the country, they're completely corrupt. They're not going to do anything. Biden literally broke the law. He committed a crime. They've actually put people in prison for less. It's double standards. And everybody that they put in prison before for less, they should automatically let them out. If they're not going to do this, because Joe Biden, he was just a private citizen at that point. He had these documents for over 6 years. There's no accountability. There's going to be no repercussion. Listen to what he says, because it's pretty spot on. I would have to say I agree.
Professor, their defense, this is a personal residence, they say, yet they believe he has prerogatives. What is their defense right now?
Well, I think ultimately the defense is going to be carelessness, sloppiness, no malevolence. Other presidents have done it. Whataboutism? What about Donald Trump? What about Sandy Berger? What about Hillary Clinton? We're gonna see a lot of comparisons, and in the end, we have two special prosecutors. They were appointed because if you're going to appoint one against somebody who's running for president, you should appoint another one for the other person who's running for president. Neither will recommend prosecution. If either of them does, Garland will overrule them and there will be no prosecution. Probably the laws will be changed, and we'll see now a new process by which the archive will come to the House and remove everything the day the president leaves the White House. I think we're going to see that change.
So, Professor, you say it's going to be pretty much nothing followed by a change in the process with no repercussions for Biden?
I think there'll be no repercussions except political. People, even the Democrats, are now saying, oh, my God, he said how sloppy Trump was. Look how sloppy he is and how irresponsible he is. We'll see political repercussions. I do not think we'll see criminal prosecution against either. If there was ever a chance that Donald Trump would have been prosecuted for what he did, that opportunity has disappeared as the result of this kind of tit-for-tat politics where everything has to be equal and whatever is good for one has to be good for the other.
Yeah, and you know they're not going to do it to Joe Biden, even though they want Joe Biden out the way. Is there a reason that no one in the House of Representatives have brought up impeachment papers on Joe Biden? Maybe they're like, well, Joe is like destroying himself, and we most definitely don't want Kamala Harris there. You think that's the reason why they haven't brought up impeachment papers on Joe Biden? Now, they have in the past because Marjorie Taylor Greene has done it, right? But how come they haven't done it now that they're in control of the House? I mean, that's just a valid question. I'm just kind of curious, especially with all of this information coming out. Joe Biden purposely doing an executive order to seal Hunter Biden, or not even Hunter Biden, but the Biden crime family's SARS report, suspicious activity reports, the SARS, 150 plus, because they didn't do that. That should be, because they did that, that should be grounds for impeachment automatically. There should be an investigation. Why did he do an executive order to hide these suspicious activity reports? Are you hiding something? Really? I think that he's actually hiding something. Okay. I do have a lot more to share with you, but I'm not going to be able to show it all to you tonight. But so what I'm going to do is some of the stuff that I want to make sure that I get in here. I'm going to go over to Rumble and exclusively talk about it over there. For those of you that are on Facebook, I want to thank you so much for joining me again, coming back after my hiccup there. Let me say thank you to Brian for the stars. Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Brian says, I would really love to see some action done with Biden's I'm going to add this part, the Biden crime family. He didn't say crime family. I did. He says, right now. Yeah, I'm with you, Brian. And thank you for those stars. Thank you so much. Tammy, thank you so much as well for those Facebook stars. I really do appreciate it. I really do. And then Kevin, thank you so much for the super chat on YouTube. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I really do. Okay, so for those of you that want to see what information I'm getting ready to show you on Rumble, go to it right there. Connect with me on Rumble. I have something that's really explosive. And, so YouTube put out a memo saying that you can talk about certain things, but I think it's a setup. And I've seen some people actually talking about certain things, but I think it's a setup. They've already deleted one of my channels because I talked about certain things. I never claimed to be something, but they done it. So I like to keep my current page here, my current channel, if that's okay with you. All right. All right, so if you want to, join me over there. All right. Just about there. All right, hold on.